A very good morning, student. So I welcome you all for the online lecture series on remote sensing and GIS. So let's start with a new module that is hyperspectral remote sensing. So this hyperspectral remote sensing will be divided into various parts, that is part 1, part 2, and part 3 respectively. Now let us start with the introduction of the hyperspectral remote sensing. This is the first lecture on hyperspectral remote sensing. In this lecture, you will learn basics of remote sensing, the basis of hyperspectral remote sensing, as well as why do we get spectral signature, because that is the base of the remote sensing. Okay, so let's start this lecture. And first slide, actually, this is the repetition of my previous lectures, because ये fundamental है remote sensing का, where in case of passive remote sensing, we are using sun as our source. Sun क्या करता है? It illuminate our surface, right? And which is getting reflected, and the reflected energy we capture between 0.4 to 2.5 micrometer wavelength range, whereas in emitted energy we use 2.5 or 3 micrometer to 16 micrometer wavelength range, and there we capture the emitted energy. तो दो चीजें हमको पता थी कि जो फंडामेंटल है रिमोट सेंसिंग का, जहाँ पैसिव रिमोट सेंसिंग हम यूज करते हैं, हम वहाँ पे सन आवर सोर्स की तरह यूज करते हैं. सन क्या कर रहा है? हमारे सरफेस को इल्यूमिनेट कर रहा है एंड गेटिंग रिफ्लेक्टेड, और जो हमारी रिफ्लेक्टेड एनर्जी है वो 0.4 से 2.5 माइक्रोमीटर वेवलेंथ रेंज के बीच में कहीं जा करके रिकॉर्ड होती है, और जो एमिटेड एनर्जी है वो 2.5 और 3 माइक्रोमीटर से 16 माइक्रोमीटर वेवलेंथ रेंज में जाके कैप्चर होती है. सो द इंफॉर्मेशन है वो वॉल्यूमेट्रिक होगा. नाउ द थर्ड केस where we are using the microwave sensor which can measure the back scattered energy, और यहाँ पे जो रेंज होती है वो होती है 0.1 सेंटीमीटर से 1 मीटर. So this actually there are three major domains where we are doing the remote sensing and we are deriving the information about the target. It doesn't matter what is the Earth or any other planet, but this is the fundamental how we are capturing this energy, right? So image next slide को देखते हैं. So अगर आपको याद हो, मैंने पहले लेक्चर में या दूसरे लेक्चर में मैंने आपको मेंशन किया था कि these are the source of the images, right? So in normal case, we use mobile phone to capture our activities, and nowadays people are using, you might be using DSLR. So the resolution of the image will be better. And the third case is in remote sensing. We are using sensors from a space-borne satellite or in Earth. In fourth case, we can mount it in our aeroplane or helicopter, and then we can capture our images. Okay. So during this, we are basically capturing the either reflected light or emitted light or transmitted light or absorbed light or scattered light. So these are the fundamental. So this information can be captured by your specific type. And basically this is a matrix, and these matrices are basically associated with your pixel, right? And subsequently we display this in image from right, and this is your ये आपका एक output होता है. So this way we are doing our remote sensing. तो इसके बाद हमको ये समझना पड़ेगा, let us understand beginning से that what are the different way we capture this. So the first one is your broadband. ठीक है, यहाँ पे जो पहला है वो है आपका broadband. I hope you remember the panchromatic images, जहाँ पे wavelengths are broad, which is used to generate the image, and this will be a single band image, right? There will be only one image produced for an area, and the wavelength, the bandwidth will be more. दूसरा केस है जहाँ पे हमने डिस्कस किया था मल्टी स्पेक्ट्रल डेटा के बारे में. Okay. So here we have discussed the multispectral data. So here in again wavelength, you can have 4, 5 or 6 different wavelength bands, and in between it is allowed to have some gaps, right? So these gaps are there. और तीसरा केस था हाइपर स्पेक्ट्रल का. In third case, we have hyperspectral. So here basically you have 100 seconds of band, and here you can see there is no gap at all here, right? In the definition itself, hyperspectral says it is the contiguous band in narrow band channels, right? So here you have 100 S of bands, and there are many bands available here, right? Now the fourth case, here we have ultra spectral. ये फोर्थ केस पे हमारे पास है अल्ट्रा स्पेक्ट्रल. In ultra spectral, again there will be no gap in between the bands, but here the numbers will be in order of 1000, right? अब next case में हमें देखना है where we are using this hyperspectral remote sensing data. So basically let us understand how this remote sensing is divided into different image form. Like one is आपका एक था panchromatic, फिर है multispectral, hyperspectral और ultraspectral. So here if we see this hyperspectral remote sensing, so it says each pixel of the acquired image has an associated spectrum, right? Generally we use this kind of image cube to display our hyperspectral data. So here you can see this is the area, and this is another direction where we have projected all the bands. So here all the bands are stacked behind. So here it may be 100 S of bands, and they are actually stacked behind. Now here if you want to know what is the property of this particular pixel, then you will have enough information. Kyun? Because here you have 100 S of band. So let us consider a case where we are using Hyperion data. So Hyperion data is a hyperspectral sensor. So if you are using Hyperion image, then what will happen? You will have 224 image bands, right? So for each pixel, at least you will have 224 values across the wavelength. So starting from 0.4 micrometer to 2.5 micrometer, you will have 224 values, right? So if you want to display this, so these are the images. So this is for example I have given. So these are actually stacked together here in this case. Now ultimately what is our intention? We want to characterize the objects or the surface. So how we can do that? We can derive the information of individual pixel by deriving the reflected values across the wavelength. So here you can see this is another example. This is not the actual data. So if you see for this particular pixel, right, this is the information. So let us assume this particular sensor is working between 0.4 to maybe 15 micrometer or 16 micrometer, right? And these are the responses. So if you have such information, then you can definitely characterize your object or material, which is better than your multispectral information, because in multispectral you have low spectral resolution, whereas in hyperspectral you have high spectral resolution. So high spectral resolution are useful for deriving the composition related information or the internal atomic structure related information of the star, right? So now you must be wondering that why we actually get this kind of a spectral response from a material or from a target. So मैंने आपको बताया था कि information can be used to extract the composition related information, right? So there is a correlation between the internal atomic structure as well as the chemical composition of the target, and because of them only we are getting this kind of a spectral signature, right? So these signatures are having peaks and troughs, and they give the shape of this spectral feature. So why do we need spectra? Why do we get spectra? Now let us understand why do we get spectra. So first of all, if you are illuminating a surface, then definitely it will eat some energy. That means it will absorb some energy. यहाँ तक बात समझ आ रही है? It will reflect, it will transmit, and then some energy will be re-emitted to our atmosphere, right? And in remote sensing, we are capturing this information. So let us understand why actually these features are coming, right? So internal atomic structure and composition are the reason of the absorption feature, right? आप याद करिए, because of the atomic structure, internal atomic structure and the composition, you are using this kind of features, right? And these troughs are the places where things are happening. That means if you get a straight line here, that means nothing is happening, right? But here, if you are getting undulation like peaks and troughs, that says that there is some interaction happening between the light, which is illuminating the surface, and the target. So the material composition is playing significant role here, right? So the distribution of electromagnetic radiation emitted or absorbed by the particular object is a function of the wavelength. Remember, if you have X composition or Y composition, they have different absorption feature, right? And this is why I have written this is actually like your fingerprint. So with fingerprint, you can identify any particular person. That is why now we are using biometric attendance, and there are biometric applications where nobody can change your basic information, right? So here also, if you have X and Y material, they are having different absorption feature located in the different wavelength region, right? So if you want to identify them, you use those particular absorption feature at these particular wavelength region, then you can definitely identify in which material X is present, in which material Y is present, right? So that is why मैंने लिखा है यहाँ पे fingerprint. So remember, these spectral signatures are unique for all the material present in our world, even in the other planets. So these are the unique information, and it can be used as a fingerprint to identify those material or objects, right? So ये आपको clear हो रहा होगा. So now, why hyperspectral is very popular nowadays? Because hyperspectral is a technique how do we measure the information, right? Basically, if you compare with panchromatic and multispectral and hyperspectral, then you will find the spectral information available in hyperspectral is much more than any of these two. In panchromatic, you have only single reflected or emitted values of the broadband. Then in multispectral, you have discrete values, and in between you may have some gaps, right? So let us see why hyperspectral. So I will show you. This is for the flashback. So in multispectral, you have 4 bands. Okay. If you have selected a pixel, then you will have only 1, 2, 3, and 4 values. And if you connect them, this will be like this. But whereas in hyperspectral, you have at least 100 SO bands, and they are continuous in nature. That means there is no gap in between. That is why you have continuous spectra here, right? And this can depict, or this can capture this absorption feature which was missing here, right? So that is why hyperspectral images very popular nowadays for the quantitative analysis, right?
So, see, the question is why we need hyperspectral, right? So, इस स्लाइड को देखिए, मैं आपको आपकी मेमोरी को थोड़ा सा रिफ्रेश करता हूँ स्लाइड का यूज करके. मल्टी स्पेक्ट्रल में यू मे हैव 4 बैंड, ठीक है. If you have selected a pixel, then you will have only 1, 2, 3, and 4 values. And if you connect them, this will be like it has been given in this figure. Okay, it will be like this. Okay, and if you connect them, this will be like this. But whereas in hyperspectral, you can have at least 100 seconds of band. You can have at least 100 seconds of band, and they are continuous in nature. Okay, that means there is no gap in between. That is why you have continuous spectra here, right? And this can depict or this can capture this absorption feature which was missing here, right? So that is why hyperspectral become very popular nowadays for quantitative analysis, right? So let us see what advantage we have when we are using hyperspectral compared to multispectral and panchromatic. So we started with panchromatic, then we moved to multispectral, then we moved to hyperspectral, and in panchromatic you have only one band. In multispectral you have 10 seconds of band, but you have gap in between, and the bandwidth can be little bit broad. But whereas in hyperspectral, you have 100 seconds of band, but you don't have any gap in between the band. So you have continuous information about the target across the wavelength, right? So when we started with panchromatic, we could able to do this object identification, activities, and even detection, right? But when we move to multispectral, we could do identification and discrimination, right? Now we have hyperspectral data, and this hyperspectral data can be used for the estimation, or characterization of a material, or the discrimination also. Obviously, we can do that, right? So that is why I have written qualitative and quantitative study. Now there is one more very unique advantage we have with hyperspectral remote sensing, that is quick, non-destructive, and inexpensive technique. Because if you are using a space-borne hyperspectral sensor data, then this expense will be very less because it is for the whole world. Now it is quick and non-destructive. Why? Because you are not going to disturb the sample or the target. You are just going to acquire the spectroscopic information captured in those particular bands, right? So here you are not going to disturb or hamper the sample. So you don't have to bring it to your lab. So as it is in the field, you can measure this information, and subsequently you can analyze for the abundance estimation, right? Now, what exactly do you understand by spectroscopy? स्पेक्ट्रोस्कोपी से आप exactly क्या समझते हो? तो स्पेक्ट्रोस्कोपी जो है, it is the study of the spectral feature which is dependent on the wavelength and the material, right? So it can be object also. Spectroscopy is often used in the physical and analytical chemistry for the identification of the substance through the emitted or absorbed spectrum. ठीक है, तो स्पेक्ट्रोस्कोपी में बेसिकली आप ये देखिए, is the study of spectral feature which is dependent on the wavelength and the material object, is often used in the physical and analytic chemistry for the identification of substance through the emitted or absorbed spectrum. ठीक है, so if you remember somewhere, you might have heard about XRD, XRF, ICP. They are actually using this spectroscopy technique. तो आपने जैसे सुना होगा ना XRD, ठीक है, XRD. Okay, so they are actually using this spectroscopy technique, right? So there you have to bring the sample from the field to your lab. Then you have to prepare the sample according to the requirement, and then that instrument will give you the information. Either it is absorbed information or reflected or transmitted information, and that will be available in terms of spectra, spectral signature. And again, you will analyze those spectral signatures to identify the material composition. So this is the spectroscopy, where we study the spectral features, what is the position, shape, size, right? And then based on that, we say like this, X, Y, and Z material. So just to refresh your understanding, suppose this is a target, okay, right? ये आपका एक टारगेट है यहाँ पे, ठीक है? What is the so suppose this is the target, and we have to we have a source lamp here. We have a source lamp here. This is in the case of lamp, right? But you can just imagine sun as a source of light. Just imagine कीजिए अगर वहाँ पे sun as a source of light हो, and then we can put our sensor here. So either in the lab, either in the lab or maybe in the field. So in field, it will be spaceborne or airborne satellite or sensors, and in case of lab, it will be lab-based instruments. So in both the cases, we have we measure the reflected or emitted energy from the sensor, and then subsequently we produce the images, right? So in the remote sensing, we basically produce the images, and then for individual pixel, we derive the spectral signature, because we have continuous spectral information about that target in narrow channels or band. ठीक है? तो स्पेक्ट्रोस्कोपी को थोड़ा सा और अगर एक्सटेंड करें, so in spectroscopy, it can be grouped into classes based on the measurement process. ठीक है? तो इसको डिफरेंट क्लासेस में हम कैसे ग्रुप करते हैं मेजरमेंट प्रोसेस के बेसिस पे, ठीक है? तो यहाँ पे बेसिकली तीन तरह के 3 मेन टाइप्स ऑफ स्पेक्ट्रोस्कोपी आर देयर, जिसमें आपका है एब्जॉर्प्शन है, ठीक है, रिफ्लेक्टेंस एमिशन स्पेक्ट्रोस्कोपी है, और स्कैटरिंग स्पेक्ट्रोस्कोपी है. एक एक करके हम अपनी नेक्स्ट स्लाइड में इनके बारे में पढ़ेंगे, राइट? तो सी, अगर हम एब्जॉर्प्शन स्पेक्ट्रोस्कोपी की बात करें, so let us see what we mean or what we do in absorption spectroscopy. This is basically related to your lab based instrument. ठीक है, ये basically आपका lab based instrument से related है. So it uses the electromagnetic region in which a particular object absorbs, right? So here a particular wavelength will be used where we know our material, let us assume X. So X absorb in 2.5 micrometer wavelength range. So in absorption spectroscopy, हम यूज करेंगे only 2.5 micrometer wavelength range, and then we will see how much energy it has observed, and based on that we will identify the material composition. So after the calibration, the amount of absorption can be related to the concentration of various metals ion through the Beer-Lambert law. Other type of spectroscopy may not require sample atomization because it depends instrument. Okay, it depends the instrument and the technique which you are using. So in the atomic absorption spectroscopy, the sample was atomized, right? So it will reach to higher state and then it will come back to lower state. So how much energy it has absorbed, that you can derive, right? So it changes with the technique and the instrument. So do not get confused about the instrument that is happening in some other way. So this is only in case of atomic absorption spectroscopy. एक example लो, just suppose liquid sample. So here we generally use ultraviolet visible absorption spectroscopy, right? And infrared spectroscopy is most often performed on the liquid semi-liquid, dried, or solid sample to determine the molecular information, including structure information. Now you can see, just imagine how much information you can derive using the spectroscopy technique. So now you are going to molecule level. So you can easily determine what is the structure. Is there any structural defect in the molecule, right? Or is there any composition change? What is their behavior? How much energy they are absorbing? How much energy they are transmitting, right? Those information can be easily identified or studied using this spectroscopy technique. तो absorption spectroscopy में हम analyze करते हैं, we analyze how a sample modifies a EM radiation interacting with it. Okay, so basically we see how it is interacting and how and what is their end result, right? So change in the intensity of the incident light as it passes through the sample is detected. So this is used to plot the absorbance or transmittance over a wavelength range, right? So here you have source light and you are illuminating your sample, and then some amount of energy will get absorbed, some amount of energy will get transmitted depending upon your sample. So those information can be captured, and then subsequently you can plot absorbance spectra or transmittance spectra over a wavelength. मुझे लगता है ये चीजें आपको क्लियर हो गई होंगी. Again, see here you are going to further study this particular spectral signature. Then only you will be able to identify the material composition. So let us assume if you are going to identify X. So whether X is having any absorbance in these wavelengths, that is fundamental question. So let us assume X is having absorbance. Okay, हमारे पास X है, it is having absorbance. Just wait. तो X का absorbance है आपका 0.9 माइक्रोमीटर. यहाँ आपको दिख रहा है, यहाँ मैंने मेंशन किया है 0.9 माइक्रोमीटर. ठीक है, राइट. So at 0.9 micrometer, if there is any absorbance, that should be related to X because this is unique information. So now we will look for that, and suppose let us assume this is 0.9 micrometer, then we can definitely say this is because of the presence of X in this particular sample. Exactly, we cannot correlate directly, right? So see here. So we use this Beer's law, and then we identify what is the composition or what is the concentration of X in this. So that will tell you the concentration. That means it is a quantitative study. Now here the assumption of this particular process is the fraction of light absorbed as light propagates through the sample is proportional to the distance traveled by the light to the sample, right? Hence, finally we get this. Okay, so see this Beer's law. Okay. Now, see, so इसमें I naught is incident light intensity, I equals to intensity of the light after passing through the sample, concentration, and L is the length of the sample in centimeters. So finally we get this. Now we have seen the absorbance और transmittant spectroscopy. अब हमको पढ़ना है about the reflectance or emission spectroscopy, because in general in remote sensing we are using this reflected and emitted light, right? And here we want to acquire the continuous information in narrow channels, right? And that will tell you the material composition and internal atomic structure. ठीक है, तो ये एक चीज आपको दिखाते हैं. So here you see it uses the electromagnetic wavelength range in which a substance reflects or emits. So again, you need to know whether your target is sensitive to this particular wavelength range or not. If so, then you can use this particular you can use this particular wavelength range or not, and if so, then you can use this particular wavelength range and that particular instrument, and then you can subsequently derive the reflected or emitted spectra, right? In emission spectroscopy, the substance first absorbs the energy and then radiates, because that is the fundamental of remote sensing. When a light is illuminating a surface, some amount of light will get absorbed, and to maintain the equilibrium with the surrounding, क्या होगा? The sample will re-emit those absorbed energy in the longer wavelength region, and that we measure in the thermal remote sensing. I hope this part is clear to you and you remember this part. The energy can be from a variety of sources, including collision, either due to high temperature or otherwise a chemical reaction within the sample itself, right? उसके बाद हमें देखना है एमिशन स्पेक्ट्रोस्कोपी, ठीक है? तो एमिशन स्पेक्ट्रोस्कोपी एक्साइटेशन ऑफ द सैंपल को इन्वॉल्व करता है entities that induce the emission of the light from the sample, right? So here again, this light source, sample, and assuming everything is absorbed, and then in transmittance, and we are only using an instrument which can measure the emitted information, and the emission can be because of the fluorescence, phosphorence, and Raman scattering. So this is again for the lab-based instrument, but they doesn't qualify the definition of remote sensing, because the sample and the sensor both are actually close to each other, and sometimes they are very close, so they are not grouped into remote sensing. So they are having the other category like analytical chemistry or analytical spectroscopy technique, right? So when we are talking about the spectroradiometer, see, in remote sensing, basically we use spectroradiometer, right? In a spectroradiometer, it is not necessary to touch your sample. So that means we can still validate our remote sensing definition. So spectroradiometer एक device है which acquires the reflected or absorbed or emitted energy depending upon the configuration of your instrument with respect to wavelength in very narrow and continuous bands, right? So remember, since beginning of my lecture, I told you that it has to be very narrow bands or channels and continuous bands. So the parameters that describes the capability of a spectroradiometer are the spectral range. अब इसको समझते हैं what do we mean by spectral range. तो हमारा इंस्ट्रूमेंट क्या सेंसिटिव है between 0.4 to 2.5 micrometer or 2.5 to 16 micrometer or in any other wavelength range. So that is the spectral range of your instrument. So because here we are using this parameter to define the capabilities of our instrument. So first thing you have to look is what is the wavelength range in which that the spectroradiometer is working. उसके बाद दूसरा है spectral bandwidth. So what is the spectral bandwidth means? Assume करते हैं you are having 224 bands between this, right? And they are located like this, very close to each other. Okay, they are related to very close to each other. So what will happen? So there won't be any gap. Then only it will be spectroradiometer, right? So if you assuming there is no gap in between the right, and this instrument is sensitive from 2.2 to 2.0 to 2.5 micrometer, and you can easily derive. So what will be the wavelength difference between 2 and 2.5? So 0.5 micrometer. ठीक है? So 0.5 micrometer. Let us assume you are having 500 measurements. So what will be the bandwidth of that? That you can easily calculate. So that defines what is the starting and end range of your measurement. Individual measurement, right? So this is something like your image band in multispectral, right? So here you don't have any gap. So this is in the first band, second band, and third band. And this has to be very narrow. That will be the third point. In spectral sampling, we basically see how frequently it is going to acquire the sample. So in a minute or in a second, how many sample it will acquire. So let us say 100 measurements per second or 1000 measurements per second, because these measurements are very sensitive and they can measure 100 measurements in 1 second, and you will get only one average value, or you can have this flexibility. You can save all the 100 measurements data, and then you will get 100 values for the particular material across the wavelength, and then you can do average. ठीक है? So signal to noise ratio, I guess ये आपको familiar हो गया आप इस term से, because मैंने already ये cover किया था. So signal to noise ratio क्या indicate करता है? What is the strength of your signal or quality of the signal? आपका strength क्या है? Quality क्या है? So if signal is 100, just suppose 100 है, तो assume करते हैं and the noise is also 100, that means both are equal. ठीक है? 50-50. But if आपने reduce किया this, let us assume this is 20. ठीक है? तो उसका मतलब क्या हुआ? Your signal is 20% and 80% is your noise. ठीक है? Then what will happen? The acquired information or the saved data will have more of the noise. But if you just invert this one, let us say 80 is your information from the target and 20 is the noise. उसका मतलब ये हुआ this is good condition because you have more information than your noise. So that is why we use this signal to noise ratio to define the capability of our instrument. So there are 4 or 5 parameters. They are used for any given spectroradiometer to define their capabilities or their strength. ठीक है? So whether they are capable in identifying the material information across the wavelength, and what information or what quality you will get, that is defined by these, right? Now, if you go to the definition, see, स्पेक्ट्रोरेडियोमीटर एक ऑप्टिकल इंस्ट्रूमेंट है दैट यूजेस द डिटेक्टर, ठीक है, जो डिटेक्टर का यूज करता है टू मेजर द डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ रेडिएशन इन विजिबल नियर infrared and short wave infrared wavelength region, right? And you can see in your figure. So these examples I have put here to just get you familiar with all these spectroradiometers. So this, I'm not supporting any of these, sorry, ये किसी कंपनी को सपोर्ट नहीं कर रहा. This is example how they look like actually when you get this instrument in your lab. So these are basically available in the market and they are used worldwide. So whenever you are going to buy or whenever you are going to work with them, then you have to assess their capabilities and their strength of, or their weakness by your own, right? So again, just read this one. And एक चीज आपको याद रखनी पड़ेगी क्या, कि these spectroradiometers are basically very powerful because the same sensor has been placed in that space, right? So the same sensor you are getting from your lab, so the same technology if you use to measure the spectral signature on Earth and from the space, and if you can correct the space measurement for the atmospheric component, then you can definitely watch these two spectra, and then it will be very useful. You can upscale the ground information to the satellite scale, and this is just again to get you familiar what are the things available in these instruments, right? So here, this is the fiber optic cable through which your emitted or reflected energy will transfer to your detector, and they are fixed. Nowadays, it depends instrument to instrument how they have designed. So this is one example where your fiber optic cable is fixed, and in this one, most of them are having this internet connection facility. So if you can have or you can connect with the network, then you can access this data set somewhere else remotely, right? And this is another attachment which comes with this spectroradiometer, where you can focus your target, because from this pointer will sense the energy, reflected or emitted energy. This is a fiber optic cable, okay? And here you may have some field of view depending upon the instrument. So assume karte hain you have X field of view, right? And you are looking for a sample, okay? So you have to decide what should be the H, then only it will cover this particular object, and using this bubble, you can make sure whether you are looking at vertically or it has some tilt angle. So in these spectroradiometer, what exactly we can measure? We can measure the spectral reflectance, right? So ये slide में देखिए, what we can measure? We can measure the spectral reflectance, and why we are calling it spectral reflectance? Because here we will have many bands, maybe 100S or 200S or 500S band, and in narrow bandwidth, right? So here you will have this kind of spectral signature. So suppose this is one instrument, the next measurement will be just immediately after that. Why? Because you will not have any gap in between the measurements. So that is why you could be able to produce this kind of spectra. So that is why we are using this reflectance calculation for many wavelengths. So this is why we are calling it spectral reflectance. Now next is spectral transmittance. Again, we can measure the transmittance, absorbance, then spectral radiance, obviously because radiance will be captured, and then spectral irradiance, because irradiance is required to convert your radiance into transmittance, absorbance or reflectance, right? So this is your incoming information or incoming light falling on your surface, right? So these are basically spectral panels So these are actually having this capability to reflect equal amount of light in all the directions. So they are isotropic in nature. If you use this particular spectral panel to measure your irradiance, then what we'll call them? We'll call them downwelling radiance. Now, factors which can affect these spectra, whatever we measure through our spectroradiometer, does not matter which brand you are using it. So what are the factors which plays very critical role? Atmospheric characteristics and stability. So this is very important and this is required throughout the measurement. So atmospheric characteristic means you need to know what kind of component or what kind of atmospheric constituents are present, right? And then stability means there should not be very strong wind or the atmosphere should not change drastically during your measurement, right? Next is sample viewing and illumination geometry. So if you are having this instrument, and let us assume this is the opening of your fiber optic cable, and you are looking vertically with some field of view, and this is your sample, right? So the viewing geometry, that means your source is here somewhere, right? Or you must be using some other source, maybe halogen lamp or sun. So this geometry should not get changed during the measurement. So, right. So this is very important, but that is a source sensor geometry and then source of illumination. So if you are using this sun as a source, then with time the intensity changes. So you have to take care of that. So you should not plan for the whole day experiment. आपको plan करना है accordingly so that one measurement can be over between very short period of time. Then instrument field of view. So you should not change the field of view of your fiber optic cable within the or between the measurement. So instrument is scanning time. So scanning time is sampling rate. So if you are using 100 samples per second, then it should be consistent throughout the measurement. Then sample characteristic, because this can severely affect your spectra. So suppose if this is your target and if you are looking from here, the information will be something different than here. Why? Because in case if you are looking for a rock type, then the composition is not uniform from here. It will be different. Here it will be different. So there will be minor changes and that could influence your spectra. So you may get different spectral signature for a given target when you change the position of the apposition, right? So this is we call field of view, that sample falling within the field of view. And the last one, which is very important, wind. So wind, whether you have a strong wind or calm environment, that also matters a lot here. So you should make sure that you should not have a strong wind during the measurement, right? Spectroradiometers are very sophisticated instruments, so you need to follow sets of procedure and you can you can't avoid them. ठीक है? क्यों avoid नहीं कर सकते? Because if you change the way you calibrate or you measure the sample spectra, it will influence your final result. So in the spectroradiometer, basically we use the dark current. And what is the dark current? So suppose assuming this is my spectroradiometer and this is my fiber optic cable. So all the instrument components are actually here, right? They are lying in their own position. And since power is involved, and since the power is involved, because we'll start this instrument with battery power or maybe AC power, right? And over the time, all the components will get heated and they will also produce some photons, right? So it is recommended that whenever you go for the measurement, you should keep your instrument on for some time. Then they will saturate and they will start emitting their own energy, and that will be consistent throughout the measurement, right? So what we do, we close this slit and we do not allow any light or any photons to pass from our atmosphere to inside this instrument. And here we measure what is the photon or what is the energy which is produced by the instrument itself, right? And that we actually measure, and that we subtract from our measurement. So dark current refers to the current which is generated within a detector in the absence of any external photon. So we close the external slit and then measure the dark current, then open again for our measurements, then white reference measurement. Why do we need that? White reference is your spectral panel. So that is used to measure your irradiance, because when you focus your fiber optic cable towards the sun, it will get saturated, right? So it would not work. So what we do, instead of focusing it directly to sun, we use indirectly, where sun is illuminating the surface. There we keep our panel, and then this panel has a property of 100% reflectance. So it will reflect equal amount of light in all the direction, right? And that will give you the downwelling radiance. So here in white reference measurement, a material with approximately 100% reflectance across the entire spectrum is called a white reference panel or white reference standard. Using this white reference measurement, you can estimate the reflected energy from your target, right? And the last one is target sample measurement. So target or sample measurement means the radiance measurement or the reflected energy from your surface or from your target that will be measured the same way we measure this white reference measurement, but here we use a spectron panel, but here we will remove that and we will directly focus on our sample. ठीक है, and एक बार आपने कर लिया, you do, then you can have this kind of spectral signature. ठीक है, you see this kind of spectral signature, you will have this kind of spectral signature. And here this is one example where you have a handheld probe, right? So this is contact probe where the source is also inside this, right? And this is illuminating this particular surface, and here we keep this in close contact, and the amount of light which is reflected from this, that will tell you the amount of light incident on the target. Kyun? Because the same handheld probe will be put on your sample and then will measure the reflected. And here, why do we have designed this kind of probe? To avoid the atmospheric constituent, because here there is no atmospheric coming into the picture. So when you have that, you don't want have 1.4 or 1.9 micrometer water vapor, atmospheric or terrestrial water vapor signature, right? So this is when you want to identify or when you want to capture the real spectra of your target without any atmospheric intervention, right? So now you have understood this spectroradiometer part. So how do we generate hyperspectral remote sensing data? एक स्पेक्ट्रोरेडियोमीटर का यूज करके हम हाइपरस्पेक्ट्रल रिमोट सेंसिंग डेटा कैसे जनरेट करते हैं और कैसे हम एनालाइज करते हैं those spectral signatures. That is why we are calling them into spectroscopy category, right? But using this spectroradiometer, you cannot produce an image. ठीक है. So here, see, we'll have a new term. So यहाँ पे एक नया टर्म है इमेजिंग स्पेक्ट्रोस्कोपी इंट्रोड्यूस किया गया है. तो आप क्या समझते हैं इमेजिंग स्पेक्ट्रोस्कोपी से? So you have already understood this spectroscopy component using spectroradiometer, and there are many other instruments which are actually used to derive the absorbance or transmittance or reflectance or emitted spectra, right? And एक बार आपने analyze कर लिया, that is known as spectroscopy. But in imaging spectroscopy, what extra information you will have? You will have images, right, plus spectral information. So it has both spectroscopy and imaging power, and it will be to acquire the spectroscopic information over large area. So that is actually your imaging spectroscopy. So एक imaging spectroscopy में we have generated the hyperspectral image where we have narrow band continuous spectra, right? So that each pixel of the acquired image has an associated spectrum that can be used to identify the surface material and their composition. और जो इमेजिंग स्पेक्ट्रोमीटर्स होते हैं, दे एक्वायर द इमेजेस इन अ लार्ज नंबर, नैरो एंड कॉन्टिन्यूअस स्पेक्ट्रल बैंड. सो बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट है जस्ट टू अंडरस्टैंड दिस वन. सो हियर इनिशियली वी हैड स्पेक्ट्रो radiometers. Now we are having imaging spectrometers. That term has been changed because we are going to produce images. So here we will produce the large number, narrow and continuous band. So typically it is in the order of 0.01 to 0.02 micrometer in the bandwidth, right? So just imagine how small they are, right? So once you have that, you can definitely capture all the information coming from the surface. So then you could able to identify all the observation features which are produced by your target. If you have little bit of the gap between the measurements, then you might have missed this particular absorption feature. But since our imaging spectroradiometer or spectroradiometers are designed to capture the large number, narrow and continuous band, we are able to identify all these absorption features. Okay. Now we have the different terms such as spectroscopy, imaging spectroscopy, hyperspectral remote sensing. So what I am doing, I am just going to wind up the session to imaging spectroscopy. अब हम different terms जो हैं जो हमारा यहाँ से start होगा, ठीक है, उसका definition, उसका detailing, वो will covering in the next part, that is in part 2 of hyperspectral remote sensing. तो अगर अभी तक आपको कोई डाउट है तो you can directly mail it to ankur495@bit.ac.in, or you can put your queries in the comment box also. So I hope you are enjoying it, right? So okay, so we'll wind up this session for this part 1. We'll back with the part 2 tomorrow. Thank you, class. Have a nice day. God bless you all.